through the Communist Party. All he was, he would say, in terms of his education and his understanding, was due to the Communist Party.
He spent much of the 1920s secretly organizing the Yugoslav Communist Party. In 1928, he was arrested for distributing communist propaganda, a crime he proudly admitted. At his trial, he put his country on notice that the fight for its future had just begun, shouting to a packed courtroom, "Long live the Communist Party, long live the world revolution." His defiance cost him 5 years in jail, years that only deepened his commitment to communism. Consumed by his political crusade, he was apparently indifferent when his wife left him, taking the children and returning to Russia.
Tito is somebody who needed a woman. He always needed a woman there, but he was very quick to drop them. Whether he gets an assignment abroad, whether he's in prison, whether he has to evacuate, he drops the woman that he is with and then eventually finds another one.
Released from jail at age 41, Moscow called upon him to serve as an international communist spy. Demonstrating a flair for the dramatic, he became a master of disguise, carrying out information gathering missions across Europe. He used dozens of fake passports and delighted in assuming different identities.
He used many aliases. He traveled as a Comintern agent in France. He once joked about he knew Paris, he says, but not the same places that other tourists in Paris went to.
He moves backwards and forwards between illegal life in Yugoslavia, going abroad, Vienna, Paris, and he is very much making his mark, being tried out by the Soviet leadership and the leadership of the Communist International, a boss on probation.
His first and final alias was a common Croatian name he adopted as his own, Tito. By 1940, he rose to head of the tiny Yugoslav Communist Party. But his organization was powerless, and he was unknown outside his own country in communist circles. Just 4 years later, all the world would know his name. In early 1941, 49-year-old Josip Broz Tito headed the small and virtually powerless Yugoslav Communist Party. His dream of overthrowing the ruling monarchy seemed but a fantasy. Everything changed when the Nazi war machine struck in April 1941. The Germans bombed Belgrade into rubble, invading and occupying the capital city within a week. Partitioned into 4 provinces under foreign control, Yugoslavia had ceased to exist.
This is the chance to foment revolution now that the Yugoslav state, which he has been fighting against, has been destroyed by somebody else. This is the great chance that he's going to grab with both hands.
The Nazis used ancient religious hatreds to divide and conquer the country. They granted policing duties to the Ustasha, a fanatical sect of Croatian separatists bent on destroying the Greek Orthodox Serbs.
They said they would get rid of the Serbs, they would convert a third to Roman Catholic Church. They would expel a third and they would kill a third. In actual fact, they did kill about a third.
Marauding bands of Ustasha committed atrocities that shocked even the Nazis, hacking whole villages to death, forcing peasants to dig their own graves, and then burying them alive.
Croat Ustashas went into the villages and they would ask the children to make the sign of the cross. And if they made it like this, left to right, which is what Roman Catholics do, they were all right. But if they made the sign of the cross that way, which is what Serbs Orthodox did, they killed them.
Tito built on his communist base to organize a group of freedom fighters, the Partisans. Ustaša brutality drove Serbs en masse into the ranks of the Partisans. Publicly, Tito's goal was to expel foreign invaders. Privately, he meant to liberate his country from its own monarchy.
Everybody who met him throughout his life mentions what charisma he had, what personality he had. This served him in very good stead. And when he became a leader of the partisans during the Second War, he was very clever. He didn't show himself too often to his men. He kept a certain aloofness from them, which impressed them all the more on the occasions when he did appear to them.
The Partisans carried on a guerrilla war against the German army, destroying supply lines, ambushing reconnaissance teams, harassing them at every opportunity. At the cost of many lives, they succeeded well enough to draw Berlin's attention.
Hitler had issued an order that for every German soldier shot or even wounded, 100 Yugoslav civilians would be selected randomly and shot. This they proceeded to do with great vigor.
Hitler's order was designed to discourage civilians from aiding the partisans, but the Fuhrer had blundered.
The Serbs in the villages, the Croats and the Slovenes essentially said, I can be shot for nothing just as easily as shot for going to the forest. It was far safer for them to go to the forest, join the partisans, take a gun and fight the Germans.
Tito inspired his men by sharing the many hardships of their long and desperate struggle. Forced to live outside in the winters, they endured the bitter cold, resulting in frostbite and even death.